Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, well, we're getting into a story that's really been all over the headlines, causing quite a stir in both entertainment and business circles. It's about Sean Diddy Combs.
A name most people definitely know.
Exactly. For
Yeah.
years, he was just synonymous with massive success, music, fashion, spirits, building this whole empire.
hmm
But lately, that whole picture, that narrative, it's really taken a dramatic turn. We're seeing significant legal challenges, business fallouts. It's fundamentally changing his world. So our mission here today is to try and untangle this really complex web. We're going to zoom in specifically on his, well, very high-stakes legal fight with the beverage giant Diageo.
Right, the Ciroc and De partnership.
Precisely. And then we'll sort of pull back and look at the bigger picture, the financial fallout, the other legal troubles, how it all connects to his empire.
It's kind of a case study, isn't it, on how corporate deals, personal behavior, and public image can all intersect, or maybe collide is a better word.
Collide, yeah. And reshape everything for even, the biggest names.
Absolutely. And to help us navigate this, we've really dug into the details. We've looked at accounts like excerpts from Diddy's Diageo dispute and financial downfall, and another piece digging into the business landscape of Diageo and Sean Diddy Combs.
Valuations, financial implications,
Yeah.
all that.
Exactly. We're trying to pull out the key pieces, the most important bits, to give you a really clear, comprehensive view of what went down and, crucially, why it matters.
So the big question we're posing as we get into this is,
Yeah.
what actually happens when an empire that's built so much on charisma, on branding, suddenly faces, well, its biggest legal and PR crises all at once? Let's dive in. Okay, so let's start with that Diageo partnership. It was foundational, right, for his more recent business success in here.
Incredibly lucrative. We're talking over 15 years. And
Yeah.
he wasn't just like a celebrity face they slapped on a bottle.
No, he was the face, the engine behind Ciroc vodka, De Leon tequila. He really helped make those names, didn't he?
Yeah.
Especially in certain markets.
He did. He gave them huge visibility, cultural cachet. He really became almost legendary in the spirits game because of it. And what's really key here is that he was an equity partner, deeply involved.
Right, not just an endorser. He had skin in the game.
Exactly. In the strategy meetings, shaping the marketing, really pushing for market share. But then that very powerful partnership, it took a very public, very sharp turn in May 2023.
And that's when the lawsuit hit.
That's when the lawsuit hit. Combs sued Diageo, and the allegations were, frankly, explosive for the industry.
Okay, so what were the core claims? This is where it gets into alleged systemic issues, right?
Yeah, the central argument, the absolute core of it, was his claim that Diageo treated Ciroc and De Leon as, quote, inferior black brands.
Inferior, meaning what exactly in this context?
Well, he argued it wasn't just about where they marketed them, but about how Diageo valued them, their perceived potential. His claim was that Diageo deliberately pigeonholed them
Pigeonhole how?
by marketing them mainly to urban consumers, as he put it, and essentially ignoring or neglecting their potential to break into broader, more mainstream, and arguably more profitable markets.
So not just a missed opportunity, but like an intentional limiting of their growth.
That was the allegation, deliberate limitation. He accused Diageo of failing to invest properly, marketing dollars, resources, distribution focus in Ciroc and De Leon.
While they were pushing other brands.
Exactly. While they were allegedly pouring resources into their other big tequila players like Don Julio and Casamigos.
Okay.
And then this is where it got really personal and very contentious. The lawsuit included specific claims of racial discrimination within Diageo's senior management.
Discrimination.
Yes, he alleged that executives resented his success, resented the profile he brought, and that this created a sort of hostile environment that actively undermined the whole venture. Yeah, it really throws a spotlight on the sometimes tricky dynamics when these huge corporations partner with major celebrity entrepreneurs. Potential for cultural clashes, different expectations.
Definitely serious claims against a global player.
Yeah.
But as often happens with these big corporate fights, it didn't actually go to a full trial, did it? It settled relatively quickly.
It did. Very public fight, but it wrapped up in January 2024 with a settlement.
And the terms, what was the outcome?
The terms were crystal clear and pretty final, especially for Combs. Both sides agreed to, resolve all their disputes.
Okay.
Crucially, Combs had to formally withdraw all the allegations he'd made against Diageo. No more claims of discrimination or neglect.
He walked them all back.
Completely. And as part of that deal, Diageo took over full ownership of Ciroc and De Leon.
So all ties severed.
All business ties completely cut. It was a huge shift. For Combs, it meant the end of this partnership that had reportedly made him, what, nearly $1 billion over the years?
Oh, a billion.
Yeah, a cornerstone of his wealth. And for Diageo, well, they got full control of two valuable brands, but only after this really public, quite damaging fight that raised some uncomfortable questions for them.
Right. Now, this is where things get even more tangled because this Diageo lawsuit, this very public business fight, it wasn't happening in isolation, was it?
Not at all. The timing is really, really crucial here. It coincided with this sudden storm of other challenges for Combs on very different fronts.
Disposable challenges.
Deeply personal, yes. And that convergence created this kind of whirlwind of public speculation. Everything started feeding into everything else. It's really important to see how these different threads started weaving together. Around the same time the Diageo battle was heating up, these very serious sexual assault allegations against Combs started surfacing publicly.
Multiple allegations.
Multiple allegations. And this naturally fueled a lot of public commentary, a lot of theories. You had figures like rapper 50 Cent publicly suggesting that maybe Combs going so aggressively after a giant like Diageo.
That it made him vulnerable.
Possibly. That it perhaps inadvertently sped up or maybe even emboldened people to bring forward these other challenges. It kind of highlights how a strong public image can be like a shield, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But once that shield gets cracked, maybe by a big corporate fight like this, it can suddenly expose someone to a whole flood of other issues, scrutiny that might have stayed hidden otherwise.
And those other issues, the personal legal challenges, they quickly led to very real, very serious legal consequences.
They did. It wasn't just speculation anymore. In July 2025, you had the conviction. Combs was convicted on 2 federal counts related to the Mann Act specifically, transportation for the purposes of prostitution.
Though, important to note, he was acquitted on the bigger charges, right? Sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy.
Correct. Acquitted on those counts, but convicted on the 2 Mann Act charges. And that brings us to the kind of wider legal picture he's facing now. The Mann Act itself, it's a federal law about transporting people across state lines for immoral purposes. It's been used in lots of ways over the years. And while he beat the racketeering charge, which is about a pattern of illegal acts for an enterprise, the Mann Act conviction is still hugely significant.
And then there are the civil suits.
We're talking over 50 pending civil lawsuits currently, all alleging various forms of sexual misconduct.
50? That's staggering.
It is, and the financial fallout from all of this converging, the Diageo split, the convictions, the pending suits, it's been dramatic. His net worth took a massive hit.
How big a hit?
Well, estimates put his peak net worth around $825 million back in 2018. By mid-2024, that was reportedly down to around $400 million.
Wow, nearly cut in half.
A huge, rapid decline. It just shows how exposed even wealthy figures can be when legal, PR, and personal crises all hit at once. The cost goes way beyond just the lawyer's fees.
Absolutely. And the question of how much that initial Diageo fight actually influenced this broader unraveling, well, that's still being debated, isn't it, in the media, publicly?
It absolutely is. It's one of those things where it's hard to draw a straight line, but the timing and the public nature of it all make people wonder about that domino effect, you know, when a public and private world collide so spectacularly.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about the scale here, particularly Diageo, and maybe touch on some of the what-ifs around that whole situation.
Right, because when we talk Diageo, we're not just talking about, you know, a large company. It's a behemoth.
A global beverage powerhouse.
Truly. To put some numbers on it, Diageo Pear, as of August 2025, had a market capitalization around $63.81 billion.
Billion. With a B.
With a B. Market cap is basically the total value of all their shares out there, a huge indicator of their size and investor confidence globally.
And their cash flow.
Pretty strong. For the fiscal year ending June 2025, their net cash flow from operations was $4.3 billion. So they generate a lot of cash from selling, you know, Johnnie Walker, Guinness, Tanqueray.
The list goes on.
Over 200 brands in total. Now, that cash flow helps them manage their debt, which was substantial, about $21.9 billion in net debt.
Which isn't uncommon for a company that size that acquires other brands.
Not at all, but it's still a big number. And it's worth noting, even giants like Diageo feel market pressures. Their market cap had actually declined about 14% over the past year leading up to that point.
Interesting. So even they aren't totally immune. Now, bringing it back to Combs Enterprises, music, fashion, TV, and of course spirits, that Diageo deal for Ciroc and De Leon, as you said, reportedly netted him nearly $1 billion.
An absolutely staggering amount. It really underlines how critical that partnership was financially for him.
Which leads to that fascinating what if. What if his claims in the lawsuit, the racial discrimination, the deliberate underperformance of the brands, what if those had actually been proven in court?
Yeah, that's a really complex hypothetical. We don't know the exact internal valuations Diageo had for Ciroc and DeLeon. That's proprietary info now.
Right.
But you'd have to think their value was significant based on market share, brand recognition, revenue streams, future potential. All of that gets factored in.
So if he'd won,
If a court had sided with Combs, the potential damages could have been, well, monumental. You're talking not just about lost earnings he could prove, but potentially future earnings based on what the brands could have achieved if managed differently.
and punitive damages too, possibly,
Mm-hmm.
for the discrimination claims.
Potentially, yes. Especially considering the global scale of these brands. The payout could have been massive. It really just highlights how crucial these big strategic alliances are.
And the potential consequences when they fall apart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially under such contentious circumstances, the stakes are incredibly high in terms of brand value, reputation, and just cold, hard cash.
So we've really traced this arc, haven't we? From the complex Diddy Diageo dispute, the serious allegations, that quick settlement,
Mm-hmm.
and then watching the ripples spread these other huge personal legal issues bubbling up, leading to convictions, dozens of civil suits.
It's become this almost, like you said, cinematic example of how tightly linked business deals, personal behavior, and financial standing really are.
And public legacy, too. It's all interconnected and apparently quite fragile sometimes.
It really is. I mean, what this whole saga hammers home is the sheer impact when major business fights intersect with these deeply personal legal crises, even for figures who seem incredibly powerful, almost untouchable.
Yeah.
It speaks volumes about just how complex it is to navigate modern fame, modern business. Your reputation, your integrity in one part of your life can have these catastrophic knock-on effects everywhere else.
The lines aren't just blurry anymore.
They're practically gone in some ways. It's all one public-facing life now.
Which kind of leaves us with a final thought, really. What does this whole story, Diddy's story, tell us about those disappearing lines between being a celebrity, being an entrepreneur, and being held accountable in today's world?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe more importantly, what could that mean for anyone else trying to navigate public life, complex partnerships, high stakes? It's definitely something to think about.
A lot to chew on there.
Indeed. Something to mull over until our next deep dive.